So
I'm thinking, I'm wanting to bring it up to be a more comparable, but no, there's no way I can bring Nancy up to Elizabeth's salary. I just can't do it. I mean, that's going from 21,000 to 32. I'm sure she would love that, but yeah, I don't see that being.
So what she's basically saying, I guess it's well.
But other than the 5%, yes. I mean, rather than saying everybody gets 5%, period, there are going to be some that get more than 5% because of that trying to level off.
And you got
those JPs.
some JPs that got
And it's
two
not
clerks,
just JP, it's
Right.
and
clerks.
some only has one.
And the workload differs from one to the other.
Yeah, you may have a different workload too, to offset that situation. But I kinda understand what she's saying, you know, that person that's working here 6 years may have a workload as that person's been here 16 years. I don't know what each person has or each department as far as their workload.
And it's really up to the department head to be able to determine if those people deserve that raise or not.
If I may ask a question.
Sure.
And to make sure I understand, essentially what you're trying to do is standardize the salary per position?
No.
No?
That's what it seems like.
She's already said she's moving in that direction.
Yes.
But no, she's not gonna make it a standard to everybody. There is some things that's taken into consideration
Oh, no.
to do.
Yeah.
But she wants them to understand that you're being here, you're doing a good job, and you're not gonna stay down here whenever you're doing the same job that somebody else is doing.
We need to and this is maybe a slightly different story in our item, or maybe I'm missing something. I think what we need to recognize is we have a starting salary of $20,000, is that it? $21,000 is one. I can understand that we have, we'll go back to JP clerks, that we have a much broader difference between clerks than we probably should. We also need to recognize maybe the value is that if Judge Jackson's clerk walks out tomorrow and he has to replace that clerk, that's probably not a $21,000 job. And so we're gonna have to take a look at those items, because that's what happens, is that you bring someone in and it's a little more significant job. Someone's been here forever and they're way up here and you're doing the same work, but the difference is so vastly great between 21,000 and 30,000 or whatever starting, that there's an inadequacy that seems to exist. And I think there are jobs that we have that probably ought to be different than 20.
But in the case of like Vicki Jackson, if he would lose his Elizabeth, then the job would be offered to the other person in that office, and that other person would slide over.
Well, maybe it would or maybe it wouldn't.
Well,
I mean,
you know.
I don't know enough about his operation
Right.
to know for sure, and I'm not judging, the other lady's name is Gloria. I'm not judging her
Right.
abilities at all.
Right.
All I'm saying is that you might look at it and there might be something that one did that the other one just wasn't ever
And
gonna
it's not
get.
just based on her abilities, her desire to work full-time.
Exactly, and her desire to work
And it could
full-time.
also be, I mean, what if it's.
But you could have
it's not
someone
Jackson?
doing the bigger job,
That's one.
doing the bigger job and making lesser money,
One full-time, one part-time.
except that she's full-time. And I'm not sure that,
Well, Judge Jackson's girls are both full-time.
they're both full-time?
Yes. They're all full-time.
And I'm not real sure that this discussion can be worked on in a budget. I think it's more of maybe a employee policy type thing, because
You have to change it.
I've not been in the county very long, but I've never really seen where you go into a job and everyone starts at 21. Well, there are different classes of employees, and the person that starts at 21 that's going to be doing, I don't know, working at the library. But there are different levels of expertise needed for different jobs. And I think part of it is that maybe our personnel manual doesn't really divvy up things that way. And therefore, when you hire someone, and you say, well, I'm gonna hire someone to do my, you know, I don't know, a clerk for the JP, that may require more expertise and more experience and more education and dedication and all those type of things than someone maybe that is working at a different level of the job. And so I'm not sure it's really a budget issue, I think it's more of a
Case in
personnel
point,
policy
we
issue.
set the salary for the IT person at a different salary because of the skills and knowledge that he's gonna have to, or she's gonna have to have. And so that should be for any position that we have within the county, that if it takes it to get a person, I mean, an unqualified person can cost you very quickly in whatever you pay in a person. And I think that it was taken that, about what Ms. Vernon was saying, that we'll raise everybody to the maximum and not let it at all. What she's saying is she wants to bring them closer to what the others are making, that they have been there and they have proven themselves to work.
So there's still distance, but it's not nearly as wide as it exists now.
Right, right, because like we have in the JPs, we have JP two's clerk who was earning, I think, 22,000. Of course, the other JPs, some of their clerks are earning 32. Well, no, I can't take one and give her a $10,000 a year raise, I mean, you know.
Well, it would be the same, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Okay. Not my youngest girl, because those young ladies are part-time, but my clerk started at 21. Okay, you can't compare her to what Judy's making, or we wouldn't, you just can't. With time and with knowledge, yes, you can, but that's where your gap may be. But I would not pay Judy's salary for the person that walked into the door.
Well, no.
No.
And
And that's
she,
not-
and she,
But let's say Judy walked out the door, you know, retired today, and you had to replace her,
It
You would
moves
wanna-
up within the person that's in my office that's qualified, I would give a promotion to somebody that's in there.
but would you promote her to a new salary?
Yes, if I thought that it was worthy, and in the past, if I didn't think so, then we did adjust it and discuss that with Ray within the realms of not going over a certain salary.
You know, the way Wally
He
was
would
discussing all
discuss
this,
it with me. next
like,
year.
we got issues at the sheriff department with jailers, deputies, and dispatchers. And I know that when we hire deputies, sometimes we hire from jailers to become deputies, and sometimes they, deputies that are already with experience. Now, do you wanna do that and bump them up to that salary where they're really supposed to be making as a top deputy? I mean, you see, you get,
Well, she's not saying the top individual. I mean,
no, but to compare, like Wiley was saying, if we're gonna change policies.
Well, what he's basically saying is, say for instance, the sheriff has an opening, and we have a minimum salary of 21,000. And there's a very qualified individual somewhere at 28,000. Needs the latitude or whatever to make that decision, because if you go and hire this person, say at the 21, you have training and whatever to go into it, and not to mention the proficiency of what they do, you know, all that needs to be taken into consideration. I mean, it's not just a matter of this person out here and this person and the money. It's a matter of the service that it becomes to the citizens of Wilson County and how proficient that they can do what they do. And if, like I said, you can spend less and cost you more if you're not careful, very easily, by not having the qualified trained person, because we've had a number of lawsuits over the years. Some of them come from juvenile probation, some from others, from people not acting in the professional manner that they should. And so if you have an opportunity to hire that person, that's just like you, if you have to train someone to run a grader out there, or if you can pick up someone that already has that skills and everything that you know to be a quality person, you want that ability to put that person on that can pick up and go and do the job that needs to be done.
And that's why, and I'm not the only one, but that's why I have every year talked about raising the entry-level salary, because you cannot go on, we're 21 now, did you say? You can't go on kicking in people that make 20 or 21 and expect to maintain the quality of service that we've always, you might get it, but you might not get it. So,
I mean, like Edwin,
I think every year, as we have increases in salaries, we've got to increase that minimum.
sure, he's asking for another inspection individual. I don't know if you're gonna find somebody qualified at your salary, at your, what we're talking about. I mean, to be quite honest, I know.
Base salary, I won't, I'll probably have to train.
And-
But if I had to replace Greg, I would need to be able to completely replace Greg and his abilities. I would have to, I couldn't start with the base salary. There's no way.
That's what I say.
Health inspector I can, but not somebody that has to have a lot of certification and knowledge.
I guess that's a good example of what Ms. Verna's talking about, is that you've got somebody that's proven that they can do the job out there now. So showing them that, hey, you know, you're doing the job, it's because they prove it. And there's no telling how many people you can hire at that minimum salary. The sheriff can attest to that as far as dispatchers. They're in there for a few weeks and gone, you know, I mean, it's like, and that's a good example of being able to make those decisions. I'm not saying that maybe we should change the minimum salary or something other, but I'm saying that it should be able to, if you, and it's been done in the past, if you find an individual that fits that, to bring it before the court and say, this is the reasons we need to hire this person at a better salary, and let the court then decide if that assessment stands up, you know.
But I think in my department, that has never been able to be done. It's always, you hire a deputy, he starts at whatever the salary is.
It's never been asked of the court.
It has.
And it had not since I've been here, it hadn't been asked in
Well,
that
it's been
sense.
asked before, but anyway, so, you know, like last year, Ray told me, he said, we're gonna give you the 5 positions. But he said, if you make an investigator, you have to pull somebody within, and their salary is gonna stay what their salary is. But it took me from October to March to find 5 deputies because of our salaries. I mean, we are the lowest paid county, any surrounding county.
You gave me a set of counties. Medina County and this county is pretty much on par, same size county.
Medina's still up.
I think in your own situation, I'm sorry, I'm doing rough, like in the sheriff's department, what I saw when I looked at those was that your lower paid individuals are very low in comparison to other counties.
Yes.
Your higher paid individuals are fairly standard in comparison to other counties. So that was one of the reasons that I do think that the across the board type thing is better for the sheriff's office, because it'll bring those lower paid people up a little more, and the higher paid people will get a raise, but not quite as much as.
And it's actually more than the rest of the counties get. The higher paid raise, the percent is more than the 5% that the rest of the county gets.
Plus, there's a lot of these other counties where their upper people have not been with them as long as my people have been with me. And I'm not saying how long time people are gonna be. I know that some of my newer people, if they don't get what I ask, they're gonna leave. They've already been offered jobs.
Well, that's, we,
Right now, I have 1 application for a law enforcement officer, 1 application. The last few that have come in have said, you know, we can't work for what you want to work for. So, you know.
And what do you, how did you, what was the deal for the sheriff sheriff department, how much was it?
500.
Well, he had asked 500. What I put in the budget is I put in one, you'll notice if you flip over there to page, I think it's 21. There's two different sheets in there. One is showing $200 a month increase, one is showing $250. I keep giving you such a big raise. $250 a month increase. And the reason I did that was because the one was right at the 5% for the highest, and then the one a little more.
And the 250 is what I requested
Yeah.
for her to look at, and the reason I requested it is that gives the higher paid ones a bigger raise than anybody gets in the county. That gives them, what you said was?
It's about 7.5%.
That's for the very highest paid one, gets 7.5, while the rest of the county's getting 5%. And that gives the lower paid ones, well, it gives all of them a $3,000 a year increase in their
And the lower
salary.
ones, that's
And then which is
15%.
which is a pretty big increase. And it, the thing about it, you know, there's next year that comes around too, but I mean, the other counties, I think Albert, you said that they stated they were not raising salaries.
Well, one county wasn't, I don't know the other ones, just one county,
And,
farms. But
And
I
I
can
know
check the
law
order.
enforcement is totally different than other jobs. I mean, they're
It's
24/7.
You can't compare law enforcement with,
With our office.
Yes.
Where it would be the first ones, so.
I mean,
We
the
don't-
clerk or
And I guess my,
bridge hand or anyone else.
my confusion is that if we're starting law enforcement out at 23, is that or
No,
24?
that's dispatchers.
The law enforcement get, the deputies start out at $30,000.
$30,000. That's right. And is that for someone who, someone walks in the door, meets the qualifications, but they haven't been a law enforcement person before, but you want to bring them in?
That's basically what you're gonna get.
That's $30,000. How do you handle a situation if Ralph over here comes walking in and Ralph has, he's a little younger than he is now, not much, but just a little bit.
Give or take a day,
Yeah,
right?
I have to remember Ralph can still vote. But Ralph comes in, Ralph's, I don't know, 35 years old. He's been a deputy for 5 years somewhere. Do you still start him at 30?
Yep. That's
See, now, that's a situation where we probably need to make some kind of difference, because there's a difference between me walking in and not knowing anything about it and being the same age and starting, and Ralph coming in, being the same age and having 5 or 6 years of experience. There ought to be, that's another conversation for maybe another time, another place, but there ought to be some way to take into consideration the fact that you're not getting someone who doesn't know Sikkim from.
well, the same thing I said a while ago, the personnel out there, that's qualified personnel, the fact that they pay, you can have people that do not want to do their job, and they cost you more than anybody that does want to do their job. The first thing I want to get out of the way is here, that there's not anybody on this court in this county that doesn't appreciate law enforcement and know that it's a very important element of what we do. But we have to balance a budget. And I think it's been very, you know, the $3,000 a year is a great raise. I mean, it's more than anybody else gets in the county. And there are other people in the county that need to be appreciated too. I mean, I spent 27 years in law enforcement, and I'm proud of the work that I did and everything. And I didn't always get paid what I thought I ought to get paid. But what I'm saying is, we've got an obligation to the people of this county to have good quality law enforcement and to balance our budget to where we can maintain whatever we need to in the future. And that, like I said, I hate it that anybody would look at that as that's minimal, not a good raise, and that it's, that being underappreciated in any way, shape, or form, because that's not the fact. You know, it's
Well, I just think we need to look somehow, you can sit here at every commissioner court meeting, and the sheriff department, for whatever reason, if it's money or whatever, they got 3 or 4 people that's either quit, resigned, terminated, or whatever, he's having to replace. It's like a constant continuation, you know, compared to any other office.
do you not think that's a step in the right direction?
I just don't know if it's enough money, I'll be quite honest.
Money doesn't fix everything.
Well, I realize that, but I don't know how many people can come out here, like a dispatcher, what, 23,000? 24,000 nowadays and make any money. By the time you take out their taxes or anything else, what do they got left for a month to live on? That's what you gotta look at. I'm sorry, but, you know,
But that does take the dispatcher from 24 to 27.
it does.
And that's, it may be a situation, perhaps we have not addressed it. Of course, we've had other situations. What's made it easier this year is the sheriff hasn't asked for additional deputies. If he asks for additional deputies, then that makes a difference. It may be a situation that we correct, but we may not be able to correct it all in one session. It might take 2 sessions or 3 sessions to get it corrected. The key is that we have an attitude to correct it. Jumping from 24 to 27 is a pretty nice number. I mean, jumping from 24 to 30 is a better number, don't get me wrong. But from 24 to 27 is a nice start. From 30 to 33 is a nice start. Not as good as 30 to 36, but it's a half step. Perhaps with different issues next year, then we can address the other part of the step.
Sure, but Medina County handled as many
Is that we continue
federal prisoners as y'all is?
No.
Because your budget was
And the other
several
one
hundred
is
thousand more than Medina County's total
We
budget.
gotta get everything in the bag.
And I figured it was probably the prisoner
And the
part of it that made the difference, but there was,
I mean,
your budget already several hundred thousand more.
No.
I mean, my personal opinion is,
But a lot of it has to do with
salaries
just
are very difficult because
healthcare and other issues.
that's something I wanna look at real seriously, is healthcare. We're just getting out of hand. And everything you hear, everything you talk, you know, there's not a county or a city or anyone else pays what we pay. And I'm just sick and tired of hearing, well, you got a bunch of alien people. Well, we don't keep these hospitals and doctor's offices full in business. There's gotta be other companies, other insurance, something out there that gives us a better rate. And I'm continuing, I wanna work on it. That's one thing I will try to do. I mean,
We've tried that every year.
Judge, I understand that.
And I agree with you 100%. We take a bid deal every year, and we look at what's proposed, and if we can find anybody that can come in with a better bid, that's what the way it's always been, that we've taken it.
I have learned something in the last few months, and I'm still working on it, but I still feel we're paying way too much money for medical insurance.
I agree with that.
But
Nobody can
Way
disagree
too
with
much
it.
money.
I think all of us.
You know, and we're not getting the coverage, you know, we're not, I just, I don't want to get me started on insurance.
Well, and I agree with Paul on that. He's kept me on, that's the insurance committee, and we're working. The point that I made to Paul a moment ago is, and I don't know all the intricacies, I can't even say it, of the budget. But what we have in the end is that we have a bag, and everything's got to fit in. And therein lies the problem with a lot of the things that we want. Is
if we wanna do something different with the salaries, give the sheriff's office larger salaries than what's here, that's fine. We'll just have to find a way to trim somewhere else.
Okay, with that 5% and the $200, what do you wanna give the church? You got
250.
Well, it's got two
Well,
hundred, then it's
I
got
did
250.
250.
And if what everybody gets and everything, what is the total, income of it,
The total increase,
of everything? Yes,
I'm looking at about 1.3 million.
1.3 million.
That's the increase on everything. Now, there's
On everything.
other things other than just salaries in there, okay? And I can't tell you exactly what it
Now, is
was, just for
that
salaries.
include, is that with the 2 or the 250?
That's with the 250.
It was a 250, but this
The
is,
difference between the 2 and the 250 only made about a $55,000 difference overall. And so I was kind of like, 250, because $55,000, I mean, $50 per person is not that big of an increase. Of course, when you add in all those expenses that go with giving someone a $50 raise because of retirement and all that, it comes out to more like $60. But it was still not a substantial amount that I would think it would be justified.
and that 1.3 million, are we adding, we're not adding nothing like the insurance or nothing in there yet?
Oh, yes, that's
That's
including
included.
the insurance, including additional employees, because there are some departments that need additional employees.
Mhm.
One of the,
I'm gonna interrupt you just on that page 5 when I was looking, that's online.
county clerk,
Yes, if you have 4 full-time, so we're still gonna keep Gail at the elections position, is that correct?
I've not really done anything with the elections and setting up the election administration yet. That's something that we're gonna have to talk about. I don't know if that's something that we can even at this point do for the current year. I'd like to, but that would mean moving Gail from your department, I would imagine, to become, to
Because I
elections.
noticed that it just said 4 and 2, and I actually have Gail in the office. Just want to make sure that Gail isn't taken away from me.
Well, I think I had Gail in elections.
Okay,
So
so that's why I
Gail
want to
in
make sure.
elections?
Okay, okay, all right.
Because
I
the
just want
other
to make
4
sure that
are-
Gail
yeah.
isn't hanging out there someplace, because she actually works in my office full-time.
Right, but you
And
have
she is
4 other
responsible.
people other than Gail. You have 4 full-time people plus Gail.
Right, so I have 5.
Yes,
Plus the
yes.
2 little part-timers.
I have her in just elections. Elections
Okay,
is on a
okay.
separate
I
sheet
didn't-
here.
I'm sorry.
I'm
It's
sorry, I
just when I
didn't
saw
understand
it,
what you're
that's
asking.
when it threw me, that I was lacking a person. Okay, that's fine.
No.
Go on, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
I just,
didn't quite understand your.
Does
Right.
this also include the election?
No, I haven't done anything with the election administration.
We're gonna have to,
And
study
meet
some.
and work that out.
Now, I have talked to Annie about it, and she likes the idea. She doesn't have a problem at all with it, so
see,
I do
because it
think
would
as long
take
as.
voter registration into
Right,
elections.
right, voter
It
registration.
eliminates
is fine.
voter registration and it makes that department, actually, Annie's girl becomes part of that elections,
Right.
is what happens.
Right.
If she's
And-
agreeable.
From what I have read, your budget for your election administration department, so to speak, would be whatever it is currently when you combine the 2 voter registration and the elections together, okay? So you're probably looking at, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, I want to say it was like 120,000 or something, combining the 2 of them. Because it's combining the postage and all that, which voter registration is now in Annie's budget. Okay, there's not a separate, there's a separate salary, but they're not separate.
Yeah, but
Do
that's
we
not
not have to
something-
get agreement from all the other
Right,
entities?
so
as
it's
far
not
as
something that we
contracting?
have to do like
Yeah, I'm
tomorrow,
not-
it's something that if you do, you can still get it ready for
And they have to-
next year's.
And they have
thing.
to contract,
Right, well, we're not ready to
agree
move
to
on it
contract
tomorrow.
on all that, so all of the budgeting, it should not be too,
And I did not really include anything in there other than, I mean, Gail is still in elections and,
Her salary comes out of election, she works actually in my office, but when
Yes.
election comes, she works strictly over
and
there.
I know we're running short on time, so can I just kind of run through what's
Sure.
in here? And then that way y'all get a gist of what's in here and then we can.
Okay, that, the part-time, if I needed to turn that position back into the full-time, would y'all let me do that? Just as a,
You mean turn 2 part-timers into 1 full-time?
they were, that was a full-time position, I'm the one that split it.
does it balance budget-wise?
Yeah, basically.
I mean,
Okay,
so
okay,
it's
just
not-
wanna make sure that,
It's not a deal.
okay, that's fine, because if I want to do it back again, then I wanna be able to have that option.
that one actually, I've actually decreased the budget on that a little bit because of the fact that we have that courthouse closing expense in there. And I've left an amount in there, but I have brought it down a little bit because it was quite high last year. Other than that, I kind of given you some ideas on what's on there. That's on page 3 of everything. So there's, what I've done is I've done a net increase or decrease based on the budget, and that's going to correlate back to your little spreadsheet that you have at the very beginning. County judge, salary increase of 5% across the board. An increase in repair costs due to the age of the vehicle and the driver using it. And so the overall increase there is about 88.
It all improved.
County clerk, we've already kind of walked over
Right,
a 5% increase
fine
there.
with what you have.
We did a $1,000 upgrade for the bulletin board. There's some additional equipment that needs to be purchased because Eva has a need for additional equipment. So the total increase there is about 23. IT department, we beat that one to death. I've got about 150 in that one. Veteran service officer, salary increase of 5%. Liability insurance, there's no charge, no change in that. There are several funds and stuff that there's no change to, and in order to save a tree, I did not make a copy of all of that. District and county courts, now this one is a little iffy. There's a 5% increase for the wages there. The problem is I do not have the DA's new budget for 13-14. He has not given it to me yet. I have put in last year's budget in there. I assure you it will go up. Also, the budget for the county court coordinator's budget. I've not gotten that yet either. So I.
The county court coordinator?
The court, yeah, the court coordinator's budget,
Or county?
not county.
Oh, district.
I'm sorry, court coordinator budget.
Yeah, I was gonna say our, Dawn does our coordinator.
Yeah, no, but this is,
Right.
what is it, DN or whatever,
Right.
for that. So I don't have those. I have put in, I bumped up the court coordinators a little bit, but the DA I haven't a clue. So I just put in whatever the DA
Now,
has.
he did send us something here a while back, but said he did, it would be
Yeah, he sent
in.
me a letter saying we don't have a budget yet. I'll send it to you later.
Right.
So that, the other thing on there was, I believe, on the commitment on the medical, because that is much higher.
Yes,
than it's
and I
been
haven't
last
had a chance to talk to Dana about that, but I intend to talk to Dana about that and the judge.
year. And so I bumped that up quite a bit, because we have had a lot of expenses in there.
Yes.
That,
And what?
the commitment.
The commitment.
This commitment.
Yes.
Because, gosh, what was it, last year? They budgeted $7,200 for it, well, we're at almost 14,000 right now.
Yes.
So that's, so overall budget increase on that was 55. District clerk, this is one where the chief deputy, I brought her up a little bit. She's been with the county for quite some time. What's her name? Paul? And Debbie had said, well, you know, I'd like to see her a little closer to the rest of them. So that one does have a little bit of a salary increase there. That generated about a $5,000 increase for that person. All the rest of them, we did 5% across the board. Did a little bit of increasing on the new computer equipment based on that e-file upgrades, just like the county clerks. Justice of the Peace 1, I moved his person up a little bit to be a little closer to the, most of those JP clerks are running right at the 32. I moved her up. I'm not real sure how long she's been with the county, but it wasn't that big of an increase. It was about, again, about a $5,000 increase. Okay. JP2, this is one where the clerk is very much lower than everybody else. I increased her about $4,000. Mine are comparable to what the other clerks are making, but she is doing the job of a JP's clerk, and I just, that's up to y'all. If you want me to change it, we can change that. And then the rest is just 5% increase. And then, JP2 had some other budget requests as far as.
There's not available.
Pardon?
My computer said something.
Oh.
I like that notice, you can't fix stupid.
Okay, JP3, 5% salary across the board increase. JP4, same thing, 5% salary increase. County attorney, she's asked for 2 new employees. I have one. I put an attorney in there for you, starting at 55,000, of course, an attorney. And then some upgrades to the equipment. The overall budget increase was about 67,000 on that. Elections, election clerk, and then a part-time worker as needed. And there's a little bit of blurb about talks about the election administration position and some information that I found on voter registration. The increase, actually it was a bit of a decrease. I think the salaries on there probably have, because elections hires all those part-time people. And when I sat down and started doing it, it was just a slight difference. And of course, it depends on the year too.
Exactly.
You know,
On
last
an
year was
election.
an election year, and you hired a lot more people. More than likely this year will be not as.
Right, not this year.
County auditor, I give my girls salary increases, and my salary was kind of odd, because I kind of averaged it. I was receiving 6 the first half of the year and 5 the second half, so I split the difference, put 65 in there. And then group insurance, I had an additional employee, so that increased it a little bit for the group insurance there. County treasurer, Jan wanted to convert her part-time to a full-time position, so we put that in for a full-time position at $22.50 plus benefits. And then she had a couple of office supplies and things like that. Tax collectors, the state has come in and told the auto department that they are 3 employees short on the auto side. And so I talked to Annie about this, and I have added 2 new employees for the auto side for her. It's not 3, but it's 2. The other problem that we're going to have with the auto side is she's got to find a place to put those 2 other employees. And so at some point in time, of course, the auditor's office is in there, which the auditor's office will be moving to the courthouse, but it'll be a while. I did budget a little bit of money in there in case we were going to do maybe some remodeling in there to help her with.
Window space?
Yes. And the other thing is, the state has come in and did an audit. And they come in and said, y'all need to have this locked, and y'all need to move this here. And so there's some things that she needs to really do to be in compliance in the auto side there. So I have budgeted 2 new employees on there. I've also budgeted in building and yard, not in this one, but in building and yard, some additional budget for some remodeling so that she can fix her space to work more efficiently for her.
Can these people be employed when the tax time, when they're collecting a lot of sales tax, maybe the auto is slowed down, can they work both windows?
That is strictly up to the tax assessor collector. That is her call. I think it would be a wonderful idea if she cross-trained control so that they could assess when times are busy.
Because there's times one side is more than the other.
Sure.
Right.
it up about 35,000. Mainly, there's a 5% salary increase there. I've also, for some reason, EMA building repairs have always been under Commissioner's Court. I have no idea why they were there. I moved into building and yard. I think it was when we first bought that building, it might have got stuck under there, and then from here on out, her utilities and her building repair have always been stuck under Commissioner's Court. I moved into building and yard like everybody else. I just don't understand why they wouldn't be there.
One may not think of this issue. When we finish all the construction that's going on, honestly, the two of them have done pretty good with the number of buildings that they're having to do, and they do a lot of it. Frankie is great at working the community service people. So, and once we move the DA out of that building over there, we'll either have it to sell or to lease, which could go a long way to the employment of someone. And it might be a good thing to take and look at all of the county-owned buildings together and get an individual. Like I said, it'll be probably after I'm gonna put this idea out there. Get an individual with some skills as far as electrical and plumbing and so forth, so on, to oversee all of the buildings in the county with people working underneath them, because it's gonna be a bigger and bigger task as time goes on. And like the jail itself, where it's a huge undertaking, you know, and sheriff's done real well with using the people, trustees and so forth, so on, but they really need somebody, you know. I mean, we've got a building in Birmingham. Each one of y'all have buildings that could possibly, probably most of you do it with your people you have working for you, but, and then we're gonna have this block, the jail block, along with, the courthouse block. So, I mean, it's getting to be a bigger job all the time. Plus the mental health, mental retardation clinic over there, they have to do some work at that periodically, so it's a pretty good sized job.
CJC building, of course, we've talked about that, or not the building, but the salary increase. One of the things that I didn't ask you about, is under the, vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
We have the same budget as we had last year. Is that going to be adequate? And that's not really CJC, it's under sheriff, but they're both together. The next page is the sheriff's.
It should be. Vehicle repairs, I mean, we just don't ever know. Because, you know, like last year, we had 3 vehicles that, or 4, that hit deer. And I mean, it was barely over the $1,000 deductible, so we paid it out of the budget, so that, you know, that took some money there. So it's just hard to say. But I think vehicles, I think will be all right.
Because basically on that, we adjusted the salaries, and there's been some slight adjustment for other things like forensic,
Forensic
the
stuff.
items that.
We have got so many cases up there at Bear County right now. I think we've got 20-something drug cases that we're still waiting, you know, to get back, and they're all going to be somewhere close to, some of them will be close to $100 each. You know, they haven't gotten back. And then we're getting new ones all the time. Every time we have, especially a felony, the agents tell him out, he wants to send off to business.
Well, and the increase in the volume and the increase in what they charge.
Oh, yeah.
The two combined.
And then,
Well,
It's just,
the autopsies on all these accidents, it's just a standard rule that he's got, that they're done, and many of them, the justice of the peace does inputs. And it's, the law says that if the DA requests it, it may be that he needs to request on each one of them instead of a blanket request on all of them,
Oh, they're calling at 2 o'clock in the morning and asking
That's what I
about
was
mine.
That's what I'm getting at. I mean, I really want justice to be done on all of them, but it's really, in some of those cases, that's the reason law enforcement's investigating an accident, you got Justice of the Peace that's doing the inquest, they need to make that call as to whether or not.
Well, if it's a passenger,
Yeah.
especially, you know, in a vehicle.
And they have the ability to get a blood test, you know, without an autopsy. And so that's most of the time, the only thing that you're looking at is there some kind of contamination in blood or something else, you know. But, and if you go out there and work a wreck and that steering wheel's plumb back through a person's chest or something other, you can pretty well say,
And I mean, we've had several suicides that, you know, most likely you're gonna have to do them, because somewhere down the line, somebody's gonna come back and say something different happened. I think they're still at 2,000.
but there again,
Who knows when
you
they
got an experienced police officer and a justice of the peace looking at it, and if he's got any question in his mind,
Yeah,
it's his duty to call.
right, right.
You know, I mean, it's not like it's, you know, if it's.
Ambulance, that's where we donate money to all the different ambulances. I've not made any change in that at all. A couple of them now are ESD, so.
Is there a reason why we still have to give EMS, fire department, the ones that are
Because
ESD?
those citizens pay taxes like everyone else, you know, overall. And because they voted the ESD and that they're paying more to have it, it'd be unjust to the people that voted the ESD to say, we're not gonna fund you anymore because you voted to pay a bigger tax.
And they are involved in mutual aid,
There are
well,
some,
not the Hamiltons so much. but-
Well, ideally, what we need is in our county to be under an ESD, and then that way, we can get out of the ambulance business altogether, and they would be.
I'm just looking at, well, those people being double taxed, really.
They would be if we didn't reimburse, if we didn't pay just like we do to everybody else.
Joe, I've got one question. Where do we stand with Floresville dispatch right
they have paid us for the last 2 years. They pay us both $7,200 for last year and this year.
now? Okay.
And I intend on billing them again for next year, the same 72. Now, what we've got right now on the dispatch, of course, is, City of Stockdale is giving us $200 a month. They don't have a police department. Lavernia is giving us $3,000 a year. Floresville is giving us $7,200, and Hoth isn't giving us anything. I would like to ask them to give us $3,000, just like
We've
Lavernia.
asked them before, and they say, well, we pay, our citizens pay county taxes.
Just like everyone else.
I'm gonna go down there in a little while and pay some poll taxes when I use sales tax down there.
So Floresville did pay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I asked Sylvia a couple of weeks ago, and she said she didn't remember seeing anything.
Yes,
from
yes.
them.
They, remember they sent the 2 different payments. It's been a while. It's
You
been-
know, last
it's
year
been
we
several months
requested,
ago.
I think, 62,000, and we never heard one thing from them.
62,000.
We requested it.
Wow. Yeah, I
but
can
we never-
imagine.
We never heard anything back.
I requested the 7,200, and actually I requested
I'm cold.
14,400, and she said, give me 2 letters before I should
Because-
this year.
I mean,
They're supposed to be paying on a monthly basis.
They're not cold, you know.
I'm freezing.
Oh,
Okay,
All right.
so
Just wanna
that's
see.
where we are with that,
Sorry.
and I would like to go ahead and request that both send us the same as Livonia is. If they send it or not, I mean, I just can't hold the gun to their head.
Because they have almost a full department now around the clock. Like they
Yeah, they have 24 hours.
That's what I'm saying.
Fire department.
And then the ESDs, of course, I think that may be a legal issue as far as giving the ESDs funds, but,
Or it goes to the fire department.
well, no, we're doing ambulance.
I mean, ambulance, what I'm saying.
It is legal.
It goes to ambulance, it's not, we went through that as far as the ESD and
Now, the fire department, of course, we're giving all the various fire departments money. Now, there's one fire department, that Longhorn Volunteer Fire Department is no longer in existence. It melded together, I believe, with Stockdale.
But the Stockdale Fire Department gets that $6,000.
They got it last year. I didn't know if we were gonna give it to them, because then we're giving them more than every other fire department. I don't know if y'all
But
want to
they've
do that.
taken over the Longhorns coverage area, is what they've done.
And their equipment, and their station. And I can close
So
all that
they
down
use
today.
those, huh?
I said I had to close it down, because it's gonna cost me way more than that to keep it running next year. Than 6,000.
But it's 123.
Oh, I know where it is, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know
but
what the commissioners wanted to do. Do y'all
Almost
want
on
to
the
increase
county
that
line,
by, I
10
took the
miles.
6,000, as Longhorn's no longer there.
Edwin, is it needed?
The
6,000 is Longhorn,
Oh, don't tell me.
Longhorn doesn't get any money, it all comes to Stockdale.
but it's the Longhorns.
Right.
She deducting the 6,000
From Stockdale or from?
from Longhorn.
From Longhorn.
Okay, what does Stockdale read on there? I don't have-
Stockdale is getting
21, I think.
20.
21.
Looks like, yeah, 21.
21.
Forestville gets
The
22,
6,000 is
Stockdale
so
gets 21.
The city will allow the fire department to cover that coverage area out there. That's 742 ESM, emergency response area. And the deal with the city was originally was that if Stockdale Fire Department, which were city-owned, covered that area, that 6,000 would continue to come in.
Because right now, Floresville's getting 22, Stockdale's getting 21, ESD 1 is getting 21, Pope is getting 20, Greytown's getting 6, Sutherland Springs is getting 20, Wood Valley's getting 20, ESD 2 is getting 20. So everybody's
Bottom
getting,
line is, if we want the county to have coverage over that area,